I'm going to make a brief statement just regarding, everything up at Penn State. And the one thing I can tell you, I've got an utmost respect for what Coach Paterno's done on the field. And, it's really a situation that's obviously unfortunate, but it's one that doesn't affect us. And we've got to worry about Michigan and what Michigan and the decisions that we make and getting ready for this week and going to Illinois and winning a football game. Now, practice yesterday was good. I liked it. I liked how they competed. I liked how they came out, had a lot of energy, and they fought like heck.
What are the kind of the mental barriers at this time of year? Do you see guys starting to hit the wall at all, and how do you come back?
You do with a lot of teams. Well, I have seen it, with different teams. But, the energy, John, they had yesterday and how they came out, I thought was really, really uplifting, because they did a nice job. And I was glad to see it. Hopefully we have the same thing today.
Greg talked last night about the multiple facets of Illinois' offense between the run, the option, and shell passing. How much of a concern is that for you to try to stop that many types of things?
Well, I think it's always a concern because they're pretty daggone multiple on what they do and how they do it. We've got to, play. And usually, though, if you play your base technique and fundamentals and react to the things that your eyes should be on, then you're going to be okay. And I think for the most part, our guys have been doing that. And if we stay, within that fundamentals and within those techniques, we'll be okay. But there are a lot to prepare for on both sides of the ball.
Is it pretty seamless, the transition between when they run to the option and the power? Is it?
You get a couple indicators a little bit formationally, but, they're good coaches, and there's always tendency breakers in there out of those formations.
Greg said just one thing with Joe. Do you remember coaching against Joe?
We're not talking about that.
Okay.
Greg said yesterday that Kenny Devins was playing with a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
How much pain was he in?
Well, I don't, I guess pain is something that they all tolerate at different levels, but, he's kind of been playing with this for a while, and he played physical, played hard, made a lot of tackles, and all that stuff. So I'd say he's pretty mentally tough, but I didn't feel the pain. Let's put it that way.
Do you feel like he's been kind of overlooked this season? At least from our side.
Well, I don't know. I think he's had some games where he's played at the level that you'd love for him to play at consistently, and he probably had a game or two in there where he didn't. You didn't feel him as much. But I think he's done a nice job with every week coming to work and really. As a guy in the middle there, you're making a lot of calls and you're getting guys set up and all those things.
I don't think anybody's asked you about Delonte yet. When did the decision to play him?
You know what? He's such a pain in the butt all week, to be honest with you. On the look team for the scout team, how he competes, doing everything that we ask him to do. He's got very good quickness, he's athletic, he's not big, and I think that's, and he's very intelligent, and so it was just, we got to a point, we looked at some depth issues that we felt we had and an opportunity for him, to get, 5 good games under his belt and experience is going to pay dividends next year. He's earned the right, believe me.
Did you approach him and say this is what and he was receptive?
Yeah. They always ask, "Are you sure?" And I was sure.
Is that something that is a tough thing to negotiate as a coach? Because you obviously see enough in him where you might want him for a full extra year versus,
I think it's not as tough as it maybe used to be, with the limitations in scholarships and all those things, a lot of freshmen have to play. And, for a lot of those guys, and knowing Delonte academically and everything else, he'll be a guy who will be graduated in 4 years. And then he can help our team.
Are there guys, you always talk about playing the best 11.
Right.
I mean, are there guys that you see throughout the course of the week that says he's too good for us not to play him at this point?
I think we're about at that point right now, if that's what you're
Yeah.
asking, Jeff. I think we're at that point with, the guys who have shown up on a consistent basis, the guys who, because of how they practice, have earned that opportunity, and we think they're going to be a big positive for us as a team. And let me go back. I don't know if I completely answered yes. If it's you negotiate it, well, what's going to be best for the team, and usually that ends up being best for that guy. So it's, you think about it, you talk about it a little bit as a staff, and you always try and you sit down with that young man, and tell him what you see, and that's kind of how it goes.
When did you have that? Did you have that conversation with him last week, or was that even a couple weeks ago and just kind of leading up to it?
No, it was probably 10, 13 days, something like that. John?
Compared to your first impressions in the spring, how pleased are you overall with the job the wide receivers have done?
The one thing those guys have proven, they're tough guys. The way they go down the field and they block in the run game. They constantly are running their feet through guys. And I think, I don't know if I've been on a team where consistently you've got that many guys who are going to do that at the wideout position. A lot of them think they're just out there to change the formation or catch balls, and I don't see that from this group. And I think Heck does a nice job with them. And they do a nice job. So that part of it, I think we're doing okay. I think we've caught most balls that we've had opportunities. We haven't been perfect, but I like how they all come to play. Terrence Robinson, he's not playing much out there, but he's helping on special teams, and he's competing, as a gunner, and then he's on the kickoff team. And, I think Gallen, his role has expanded a little bit. Junior's done a nice job, and you kind of look a little bit, he's a wing on our punt team, and he's probably the best wing we have because his body type and also he blocks, So, they all do a nice job.
Al had mentioned yesterday that the reason you guys lost on offense against Iowa was because you didn't have enough big plays. Is that a concern to you that you need that to win?
I think you always want some big plays, Mark. I think, defensively, do you need that to win? I'll put the shoe on the other foot. You look at the 40-yard catch that they had in the first drive. That was a big play and a big part of why they got in position to, continue the drive and score. So I think it does help you from an offensive standpoint and team standpoint.
But can you win without it, do you think?
I think sometimes you can. I think it depends, what kind of game you have going on. But I think big plays are a big part of it, or we as defensive coaches wouldn't stress so much about giving up big plays.
How close do you think you are in the passing game? Because there seemed like there were just a few near misses where it was either just a little overthrown, or do you think that's close to kind of working itself out?
I hope so, Jeff. Let's put it that way. I think we had some opportunities, and we've got to cash in on those. You're going to take 4 or 5 shots a game, depending on the opponent and what they're giving you. So you've got to try and get some of them connected. Let's put it that way.
At what point did you realize Countess would be the guy who would almost maybe be your best corner, if not even just a guy who could play?
Well, I don't know if he's our best corner. I think he's a heck of a competitor. You obviously you look at through your recruiting process and all that, but then you really don't know until you get him here. And I think in fall camp, watching him move around, his willingness and eagerness to learn, his athleticism. He's got very good hips and very good feet, and that's kind of what you need out there. He's got a good amount of makeup speed that you have to have at a corner position, and he's tough. He's tough. I mean, he's physical. He's not afraid to throw his body around, and I think you saw that some on the kicking game. He kind of started with the kickoff team, and we became a better kickoff team when he started there.
Was there a day in fall camp where you remember that comes to you where you're like, yeah, that he's got to play?
I don't know if there was a day. I think it was a consistency of days that he showed.
Is that something that, are there traits that you saw with Charles and with
Oh,
Marlon?
Marlon.
But I'm saying with Marlon, guys who have played as freshmen in the secondary.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a leap because that you have to make.
Right.
And are there traits that you've seen with other guys? How about that?
Well,
Both played
yeah, and I think the best way for me to, he's got a great passion to play. I mean, he truly loves the game of football, and so practice is fun, and when practice is fun, you seem to play better and work better and learn better.
Similarly, you mentioned Gallen's expanded role. When did that start? How did you see him develop to the point that you thought that was going to happen?
I just think, through, you saw what you saw during spring in those limited days you have. And then I think there's a maturity process that he went through a little bit, in my opinion, from a mental aspect. And then his consistency and how he practiced. And, he's got a tough side to him that you have to have on your football field in the football team.
How did he have to grow up? What did he have to mature?
Yeah, they all have to, just like we all have to, and there's some of you who haven't, but that's okay, Angelique. But it's really, you just see it, in the responsibility aspect of it and the accountability aspect.
What about Ricky Barnum? How much has he practiced?
He did some things yesterday, a lot of the individual stuff, a little bit of the team stuff, but, we'll see. He'll play, but we'll see how healthy he is.
Hopkins has been blocking pretty well these last couple
Yeah.
of weeks. What have you seen from him?
Well, I think, his role has become bigger, and he really on the kickoff return team, he's done a really good job of blocking there, and he's become more of a factor offensively. And I think Hop, if he keeps moving, in a positive fashion, he's going to be really good in this system for what we need.
When you initially sat him down to say, like, we think you can be a good fullback, how receptive?
I didn't sit him down. We just kind of, he's a big back and played some fullback during spring ball. So he's kind of been a dual role guy since then.
In your past experiences, that's quite a move from a feature back to just a blocking
It's,
back.
yeah.
Is that a difficult transition to
Well,
make?
so for some guys, I think they have problems with it, and some of them fight it. But he's been great. He's jumped in with both feet.
Al talked yesterday about having Bernard improv more, kind of find that balance between wind and road.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that process, where he's at with that? Where you guys?
Oh, I think there's and it's a difficult thing. I mean, it really is because he wants to do a great job with his fundamentals and throwing the ball and setting his feet and all that. And at the same time, maybe there's some opportunities where it's not quite what you see vision-wise as open, where you've got some opportunity to step up in the pocket and make some yards with your feet. And I think that's tough. I mean, it's a tough transition.
You guys have to remind him not to get robotic in there and still be himself and go sometimes.
I think that's probably what Al was talking about a little bit yesterday. I think that's, he's done such a good job of growing as a quarterback that there's still some natural things that he brings that and it's easy. You can look on a play and say, well, why didn't he run on that one? And he could have run on some that he completes balls with too. So I think it's a tough transition to some degree.
Do you think it's almost reversed a little bit from when you got here? He maybe ran too fast.
Maybe, you know, and I say that because he's trying to, you know, really work on the fundamentals it takes to be a quarterback.
Looking at Illinois, they got the best rush defense in the Big Ten. What makes them so good?
I think they're very athletic up front, you know, and I think the two inside guys do a good job, but, you know, Buchanan and then, Marcellus Wiley or Whitney, I think they're both are very athletic ends, and they do a lot with them. You know, they take advantage of what they do well. Brown, the linebacker, and all those guys track the ball well. We think they're both corners are really good football players, so you can drop a safety down and play some more man coverage type concepts in the back end so you can get that eighth guy in. I just think they're playing extremely hard, and they give you a lot of different target points when you look at how you block them.
I know the weeks are. Go ahead. How do you counter athleticism?
You got to play great fundamentals. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it goes back to, you know, if you're zone stepping or whatever you're doing, or how you're base reaching a guy, and that stuff. You can't chase ghosts, and you got to do a great job of doing your job with your fundamentals and techniques.
I know it's early in the week, but can you talk about the Woolfolk versus Thomas Gordon battle and how they're playing out in practice?
They're doing good. I mean, it's Tim. It's a great competition to have, you know, and we have that at every position. You know, it never changes. You know, you ask about Blake. I mean, Blake, you know, he's earned that right. You know, he's competed like heck, so that doesn't change.
With Gordon and Woolfolk, is it whoever wins that job and during the week, that's the guy who's gonna play Saturday? Do you envision them rotating more, or kind of being like last?
I think you could play both of them, and I think that probably is what ends up happening.